Hmm. Usually I would have a shirt off for this video, but I don't know. Feel kind of cold. So what we're going to discuss here in Nature's Life, Naturism and Transgenderism. The problem that is and isn't. Transgenderism was something that we discussed about 3 years back in nature on a number of naturism boards and stuff. Well, what are we going to do about transgender people coming in? The general consensus amongst the more enlightened minds was that, oh well, if they're transgendered, that's fine. They can just come on in because everybody's naked. I kind of agree with that. But there were other arguments like, well, how are you going to explain to your kid that this thing that has titties and a penis is a woman or something? How do you explain that to your kids? Now, I know somebody said, wait a minute, what are kids doing at naturist retreats? Yeah, kids go to naturist retreats, guys, for those of you who don't know. Some of you textiles out there who haven't figured it out yet, people do have children and they're still naturists. You don't stop being a naturist just because you had kids. You can bring your kids to the naturist retreat. Many of them are family friendly. So this is one of the reasons we were having this discussion. Well, why are we going to bring transgender people? Blah, 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 blah. And so then it started breaking down over time. It was like, well, what about the non-binary gender types? Are we going to allow them to use whatever bathroom or activities or whatever? And one person stood up and said, hey, look, here's the deal. If a transgender person wants to come to a naturist retreat, that's fine. But they have to follow the rules. If you're obviously transitioning or have transitioned or you've had top surgery, okay, fine. You can hang around the girls only area. But the first sign of any natural born female being uncomfortable with your presence, back over to the males. And that's it. That is, God said, everybody's like, oh, well, that's simple. You just have to actually be transitioning. He said any of the non-binary bullcrap or the just identification bullcrap, it's not going to pass muster. That's not going to work. If you're walking in self-identifying as a female and you've got 5 o'clock shadow, you take your ass over to the male side of things, so to speak, in a naturist retreat. You're not allowed to go into the women just because you declare yourself to be a woman. Now, he said up front, also he said, the chances of this happening is like less than 1% because less than 1% of the populace is transgender non-binary. So the chances of you wandering up on somebody who's transgendered and non-binary wanting to go into a naturist retreat is slim to shit. And I do remember coming back to this post and thread sometime later, and there's always that one guy. Well, I'm non-binary, slowly moving over into being transgendered. Would I not be allowed in my current state to go? And somebody literally said this, dude, quit trolling. No one cares. Read the rest of the thread. So a lot of people agreed to this. And others also said, for our naturist retreat, we'll handle it when that becomes a problem. In other words, when a transgender person shows up or a non-binary gender person shows up, they will deal with it then and there. A lot of people said there's no use in making a policy for something that hasn't happened yet, and the chances of it happening are so small that it's not worth worrying about. And I have to admit, I agree with that assessment. Why would you come up with a whole system of rules and things to worry about something that's probably never going to happen? This is not to say that transgender people don't enjoy sunlight on their skin or the non-binary or whatever, but the reality of things is that overall, most of the time they're not coming to a naturist retreat. So most of them probably don't even know where there's a naturist retreat at. So my take finally on the end of all of it is that, yeah, if you're a naturist retreat or a nudist camp, whatever you want to call yourself, when that happens, you deal with it. don't come up with a whole bunch of rules and laws, bylaws, and all that other crap. Just say, okay, look, if you're in part of the council or group or whatever that makes decisions about the place, just say, hey, look, we'll deal with that when we come to it. But for right now, we're going to separate the genders by what their appearance is. If you look like a male, your ass over there in the male. If you look like a female, and generally, if you're naked, we can see what you are. One of the prerequisites of being at most of these naturist retreats is that you can't be walking around with any clothes on unless unless you're on your period, then you got to wear a bikini bottom because, or if you're a child and you haven't been potty trained yet, because, So, other than that, excuse me, other than that, there's no reason for you to wear clothes anyway. So we will be seeing what gender you still are when you come to the retreat. And a lot of people are saying, we'll come up with a solution when you get there. Now, one thing I will say, if you're transgendered and you're planning on going to a naturist retreat, clothing optional beach, whatever, that is owned by a group or by a singular person, if you have to call ahead and say, hey, look, I'm transgendered, I'm non-binary, and see what the answer is. Don't be insulting. Don't make life harder for everybody else just because you want to be a jackass or you want to be transgendered or non-binary or whatever. One of my rules about naturism is don't be a jackass with your nakedness. I may explain the rest of that in another video. Everybody take care and have a great day.